Today we're going to look back on how fishing has changed here in Panama City Beach. I mean, a lot has changed.
If this were 1970 or 1960 or even further, there would be nobody here. There would be nobody here. Back then, you didn't turn on your sounding machine and get to see the bottom, and there was no such thing as low RANs and GPSs.
Well, the diving here is great. We have a lot of natural bottom that we dive.
We're tied into the stern of the boat at 55 feet. The structure is covered in fish. It's hard to see because there's so many fish.
Deer Point Lake is a reservoir here in Bay County. In this day of technology and video games and just so much entertainment for kids to have, that I have somewhere like this to take my kids. And when I tell them we're going up to the jump tree up at the creek, they get excited.
Chasing the Sun is brought to you by Dulce Vida Tequila, Engel Coolers, the original high-performance cooler, Florida Fishing Products, Fish Better, Fish Florida, and by Z-Man Fishing Products, the science and art of fishing.
Today we're going to look back on how fishing has changed here in Panama City Beach. I mean, a lot has changed, not only on the water, but on land as well. You see all the condos and all the people out here? Well, it wasn't always that way, and a lot of the technology we use today wasn't always here as well. So we're going to cover how they've changed how we fish today.
Captain Scott Lindsay has been fishing here his whole life and living here full-time since 1969. Working on offshore oil rigs and later becoming an outdoor writer for the local newspaper, Scott has seen the transformation of Panama City Beach firsthand.
When I was very young, we had my family lived in Alabama, Elba, Alabama, and we had a cottage down at Sunnyside Beach, and had it before I was born. And that was really my first memories of coming to Florida and fishing and knocking around down here. If this were 1970 or 1960 or even further, there would be nobody here. There would be nobody here. The thing that changed this beach was air conditioning. When they got air conditioning down here, everything changed. People could actually not stifle themselves to death at night trying to fans, and everybody had overhead fans. And air conditioning is what did it. Fishing today, I don't think you have to be as smart as fishermen were 50 years ago.
We've advanced in so many different areas. The first place that we've seen a noticeable change is GPS. I mean, who doesn't know what GPS is now, right? And we use them on the boats all the time.
Back then, you didn't turn on your sounding machine and get to see the bottom. You didn't know what the bottom looked like. You mostly just go from place to place and drop down. When you caught fish, you would throw over a buoy. We would go out, and there was no such thing as low RANs and GPSs and sounding machine. There was no sounding machine. The ones that used anything to determine the bottom, they'd use a piece of lead, haul it out with soap in it, a line on it, you'd throw it, pull it up, you'd look at it, and it'd be sand in it. That's sand bottom. We don't want to fish here. You'd do that until you brought up coral. You'd fish there.
Today we have color sonar. We have side scan where we can look out both sides. We have this chirp where we can read out deeper water. The technology is just amazing, and it's really gotten easier to use.
Today, you don't have to know much about fishing to catch fish.
know, all this technology is great. The only bad thing is everybody's got it, so it's really an even playing field for all of us. Except for that cell phone of mine that has all these numbers in it to all these other charter captains out here. And so I do get a little advantage where I get to call around and see what's happening in real time. So even though we use this modern technology, that's old technology in my pocket, that cell phone, and that's still my most useful piece of technology.
I was in the height of our diving back then, and just, you couldn't count the barracuda. They were just everywhere. Well, it turns out they're probably the most docile fish that you can be around out there.
Pole's open whenever you're ready.
Back years ago, the Navy had two towers offshore here. One was the inshore tower, which was you come out the pass, turn down to the west, and the other tower was about 10, 11 miles offshore. You could pull up to either one of these towers and just, you couldn't count the barracuda. They were just everywhere. And I was in the height of our diving back then, but I was scared to death of a barracuda. I thought these things, I mean, I'd seen these Hollywood deals where they tear you up and all this kind of business. Well, it turns out they're probably the most docile fish that you can be around out there. They're curious, but they're not vicious. Now, you wouldn't want to be in the water with a silver chain on your wrist or a wristwatch, anything that made a flash. They might mistake that for a fish and strike it and cut you on the arm. But other than that, they're not going to hurt you.
The Gulf waters around PCB are open to divers of any experience level.
We've got something for all types of divers out here. With your beginning divers, we've got our inshore wrecks. They're a shallower wreck. You can get out and be in about 75 feet of water. You have relief that stick up about 30 feet off the bottom. So while you're out there with your open water certification, that's the spot for you. As you go up in your skill set and you become an advanced diver, we can go further offshore in a deeper water, about 100 feet. We have just the same amount of shipwrecks offshore as we do inshore. They're another great dive site. Selection to choose from out there, more bridge spans. The deeper you get, typically the fishier you get, and the less trafficked areas we're going to. Then from there you go on to spear fishing and more technical stuff, and we've got all the natural at bottom you could want for that sort of thing.
My name's Dave. I'll be driving you guys around today. That's Chris right there and Elise. They're dive masters today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. We'll do our best to answer your questions for you. Well, the diving here is great. We have a lot of natural bottom that we dive, and we have a ton of wrecks and artificial reefs. We have a great artificial reef board that makes sure we have plenty of stuff out here to do and places to go to dive and fish.
This is a typical dive for open water divers, the entry level. Super easy dive for anyone that has their open water certification. We run a line system for them, so it's pretty easy to get up and down to the structure. This is the Red Sea. This is where we're headed to right now. What's going to happen is Dave's going to pull up to the structure. I'm going to roll over with a handful of chain and swim down. I'm going to tie this in. This is going to be the main bow line. Around 1,000 PSI is a good idea to start looking for that line. Come up to 20 feet and run your safety stop line. That's going to connect off the stern of the boat here. So when you splash off the swim platform, grab onto that line and pull yourself down that line that connects to the main bow line. I am about to tie us into the USS String.
Most of our dives that we do on this boat are anywhere between 110 feet being some of the more advanced, and as shallow as like 45 feet for some of the junior divers and younger people, or people that are just less experienced even.
This structure is called the USS String. It's tied into the stern of the boat at 55 feet. The structure is covered in fish. hard to see because there's so many fish. Okay, about 35 foot of visibility. Got the line system right here, guys. Pulls open whenever you're ready.
Well, it was started in 1953, which makes it a little over 60 years old.
To have somewhere like that where you can go jump in 70-degree water and cool off is a pretty unique deal in Florida.
One thing Justin taught me early on in our relationship is how to back the boat up.
Deer Point Lake is a reservoir here in Bay County, and that's really where all our drinking water around the county comes from. So as the county started to grow and see a need for fresh water for the, all the development and the growing population, they built the dam, which is what made Deer Point Lake. Well, prior to that, this was all salt water, and these creeks that feed into what is now Deer Point Lake used to be a refuge for tarpon during the wintertime. As the water in the bay cooled, these fish would go to these spring-fed creeks. That mid-70-degree water was warm to the tarpon, so they would go up there and just by the hundreds into these creeks. So what this is right here is the old pilings from the Bay Head Inn. And the Bay Head Inn was one of the first places in Bay County where people would come and to fish this area as, sport fish, not commercial fishing. People came from all over the country to Bay Head to catch these tarpon when they came up here in these creeks. But that was what started the sport fishing industry around here. And these old pilings are still standing though, pretty cool. So that's your history lesson for the day. The best part about Deer Point Lake is the fact that it's fed by a really unique creek. It's a spring-fed creek called Econfina Creek. And Econfina Creek is the fact that it's actually cool, as in water temperature, like 70, 72 degrees year-round. And let me tell you something, in the heat of the summer, to have somewhere like that where you can go jump in 70-degree water and cool off is a pretty unique deal in Florida. And it just so happens to be right down the street from my house. So we get to make a lot of trips up there with the family and the kids and friends and everybody. And it's kind of our escape during the summertime. If you don't want to get in the water out on the beach in the Gulf, there's another place we can get in the water up there and cool off a little bit. I mean, it is crazy. Like right now, you feel like it's not really that hot, really. It's like secret gym to escape the heat of July, August, and September. But what they did was they built this dam and actually raised the water level up there, and it's fed by Econfina Creek. Well, when they raised the water level, they actually flooded a lot of woods. So when they flooded these woods, a lot of that timber died. The cypresses are all still up there, and that's what makes the northern end of the lake is this huge cypress swamp. It's beautiful, great, bird habitat, there's all types of game and fish and stuff up there. But a lot of that timber, the pines, the oaks and stuff like that, that all died. And so what you have is under the surface of the water, there's stumps everywhere. So it kind of keeps the population of people using the area kind of low at the northern end of the lake, because it can be kind of dangerous riding around in that big stump field. Luckily for me, I got the surface drive boat where we can kind of ride through here, and if you bump one every once in a while, it's not a big deal. So I love the fact that in this day of technology and video games and just so much entertainment for kids to have, that I have somewhere like this to take my kids. And when I tell them we're going up to the jump tree up at the creek, they get excited. So if you're here visiting Panama City Beach and you want to get away to a neat little out-of-the-way place in the woods and still have some fun time in the water, there's a ton of ways to experience Econfina Creek, and they actually rent kayaks and canoes. They'll put you in right there, you can float down the creek, spend all day enjoying the clear water of Econfina, and then they'll pick you up and take you back to your vehicle at the end of the day.
Well, it was started in 1953, which makes it a little over 60 years old.
Chasing the Sun has been brought to you by Humminbird, simply, clearly better. Minn Kota, Sea Deck Marine Products, define your deck. Rapala Coastal, another great day. Pirates Cove Marina, you enjoy the Gulf, we'll take care of the rest. And by Panama City Inshore, these guys can fish. The passing front turns out to be the perfect opportunity for Justin to expose Travis to a Panama City Beach landmark, Funland.
Holy cow, Travis. I hadn't been here in 20, 25 years. Don't look like a whole lot's changed. I looked at the radar. We got about 2 hours worth of no outside playtime, so hey, a little rain in the forecast, no worries. Plenty of fun stuff to do.
We got food, cocktails.
Well, it was started in 1953, which makes it a little over 60 years old. We feel like it's the oldest arcade in North Florida, possibly the whole state, we're not sure. We've catered to 3 different generations of folks have come through here playing games, and it's a family-oriented type business.
All right, you got the coins, Travis.
Dude, you can't not be the boxer.
All right, stick the money in. Let's
First
go.
thing, huh?
Go ahead and show me what score I got to beat, because you know it's going to be a competition. Ah, look at there. Uh-oh. Keep going. Come on. Come on.
That's pretty good.
Ah! Oh.
All right, where are we going on this one?
I don't even remember what my score was. What was it, 860?
820.
No. All right, we'll have to review the footage. That was pretty hard. The machine shook. We might see a new high score.
You might have beat me.
Ah. I think we're in out of time because they just ran to the top. We were horrible at that one.
So we have successfully played every game that I suck at.
Well, good. Now we're at basketball, and I really didn't play basketball very much, but my dad did used to be the head coach up here at high school, so maybe I have played a little bit of basketball.
You got a little more time than I do.
Is that it?
We're done.
You think?
You beat me.
All right.
Beat me in basketball.
Time to go sit up here at the bar and take a break now.
Look at that hamburger.
Yeah.
Hamburger.
That's what I've heard. I'm tired.
Yeah, that was
Intense.
like long few minutes. You know, there's something to be said about just getting in the boat and going fishing.
Well, when you first pulled into town, I thought, you know, we'll take a little time, get a game plan together. but I guess that's not gonna happen. It's Travis style fishing now. We're just gonna jump in the boat, go see what we
Let's
find.
go ride around Rainbow.
Yeah.
And if it looks good and there's bait, stop and fish.